welcome to my first episode of Running Cut. I thought I'd try something a little bit different instead of writing blogs. As much as I love writing and getting my words down and dumping my thoughts on a piece of paper, I thought I'd try a bit of a video instead. So what I'm going to do for the next few weeks, building up towards Wrexham Marathon on the 26th of April, so about 7 weeks away from now, I'm going to do a video blog every single week, just dumping my thoughts and showing you my training and all the different stuff that goes on to try and get me towards that goal at Wrexham Marathon. I'll be documenting my support that I receive. I speak to people and I'll learn different stuff, and I'll be showcasing that through the videos as well. So whether it's speaking to Charlie Skipper or getting some information off him about nutrition, speaking to various personal trainers that I know, and myself, and developing my own strength and conditioning program. Also looking at massage, which every now and then I'll book in for a massage and receive a massage, which is going to be something new that I'll be doing this time. I've never really focused on it before, but when conditions allow, it will be something that I'll be looking to pursue as well. I'll also be documenting various other running and recovery techniques that I use, so whether it is from wearing recovery tights, using massage guns as well, foam rolling, the stick, and just documenting them as well, so that you might want to try them. There might be stuff that you've not used or never heard of before, so it might help you. Also, I'll be telling you about my training, so whether it's sessions that I do on a Tuesday and Thursday night, which I try and fit them in as marathon training sessions, which I've done in previous years, or it might be steady runs with training partners. So I've been running lately with David Hanks and doing steady runs and building his fitness up as well, so he gets something out of it, but also I get something out of it because I'm forced to run at his sort of pace, have a chat and enjoy the run and the aspect of the run. Also, whether it's a long Sunday run that I do with Gary Briscoe, to try and improve ourselves and improve each other and push each other and have that pain shared, so it's less of a burden. Plus you get to notch out the miles a lot quicker and a lot easier when you're running with someone else. Or whether it is, lately I've been running with Hannah Butcher as well and taking her through some of her virtual events that she's been doing, and seeing her family and enjoying the running with them. There is other people that I'll run with in the time that I share experiences with, and it is something throughout COVID that I've missed massively, and I'm sure everyone else has, where I've missed running and chatting, doing park run, doing races and seeing various people around Yorkshire when we're out on about on the racing scene as it is. All gearing towards that goal of sub 220, which I documented a couple of weeks ago on my blog. The goal, I am aiming for it at Wrexham. It's always there, it's always the focus, but it isn't be all and end all. I've got more important things later in the year, Berlin for example, and that's going to be the one, hopefully. But with Wrexham, it's just about finding my feet again. Hopefully races are coming back soon, getting my racing legs, getting into the rhythm, and enjoying being around people in a racing format. So sub 220, it's been in the back of my mind for a very long time. From when I first started running, sub 220, like I looked at people at that sort of level and I thought, no, I'm not going to ever be one of them. And I looked at them and I idolised them and they inspired me, and I first started running about late 2012, 2013, and I entered a marathon because I didn't know any other event. I didn't know 5Ks existed, I didn't know 10Ks or your Barnsley 10K, I'd never heard of the Barnsley 6. So I just entered a marathon, so I looked at London, didn't get a place. Then I looked at the next best thing, so I looked at Milton Keynes, which was the week after London. And I raised money for cancer research because my nan, the week before I entered, my nan had passed away from cancer, and that was kind of my motivation or my trigger. And then I entered Milton Keynes, raised money for cancer research, probably about 200 quid at the time, and ran 4 hours 4, bank holiday Monday, sweat, walked, crawled, cried across the finish line, but I got 4 hours 4, and I finished that race and I looked at it and I thought I can do better than that. So I went and entered York Marathon and got 3 hours 19:35. And then I still looked at that and I thought, I can do better than that. And that trigger in my head is always there, that I can do better than that. And I know if I ever do achieve 2:20, which I believe that I will, I'll still believe that I can do better than that. And I don't think that I've found my limit in the running world yet, especially when it comes to the marathon. So I went to York 2019, still believing that I could do better than that. And I'd ran 2:26:48 at Manchester in 2019, earlier in the year, in a pair of Adios Boost, which are almost barefoot in comparison to the shoes that we all race in now. And then I went to York later in the year 2019, ran 2:25:02 in a pair of pink Vaporflies. So there were only a minute marginal difference, but I'd trained better, I'd eaten better, I looked after my body better, and the 2:25:02 was justified.
Well done. Well done. And here's the third one home, fourth and fifth. And
But the 2:25:02 is something that niggles away at me. It's not a sub 2:25, and that 2 seconds it's marginal, but it's massive. And then COVID hit, and going into COVID, I wasn't in the best of shape for a spring marathon, but throughout the first lockdown and pushing towards the autumn marathon season, what would have been, I were in the fittest shape, I were in the best shape of my life. And then I was meant to be doing Wrexham Marathon then, I was meant to be doing Berlin, York, there were all these if, buts, maybes that could have gone ahead, they didn't go ahead, they were getting cancelled. And then one got put on called the York Runway Marathon, which was 10 laps around a runway, which I've run races like Snowdonia, and Snowdonia is beautiful. A runway in York, not so much. And doing 10 laps of it was a little bit daunting, to say the least. And those 10 laps, they were long. It was 1.5 miles into a tropical, lovely summer's day, or likened to anyway. And then it was 1.5 miles into a gale force wind. And that 1.5 miles you didn't recover from. I spent the first probably 2 laps, I believe, in the lead. Pushing on my own, and then the half marathon runners started joining in, and I got overtook, dropped back in the field, and my head went a little bit, and I came out of that race. I was in the fittest shape of my life going into it, but mentally I came out the weakest I've ever been, and it really hit me, and it hit me hard, where I was probably on the verge of like burning out, sort of thing. So I was thinking to myself, what's the point? I've done all this training to then blow up like that in a race. But you put it down to experience, and you take the punch, you take it on the chin, and you push ahead. And then I went to enter a York 5k, didn't do so well there either, not as well as I hoped. Changed my training a little bit, and then I had a race with Penistone on the track, and I ended up hanging on to Scott Inchcliffe for, it were a 5k, so I hung on to Scott Inchcliffe for up until the last lap, and ended up PBing by a second. So to me then I was like, hang on a minute, I've done something here, I've changed my training, I've done something here. And I took that as a success. Even though it was a rubbish year, I had a success at the back end of the year, and I was happy with that. But I still had that York Runway Marathon eating away at me, thinking that I built all the way up to this just for me to fail almost. But we all know failure and success, success doesn't happen overnight, and you have to fail 1,000 times before you can succeed. And I believe that eventually I will succeed. And it has been a massive torment of mine. So that sub 2:25 it will come. I know it'll come. I'm not old enough to be beyond it. I've got my best years ahead of me. I'm the fittest at the minute I've ever been in terms of racing weight. I'm the lightest I've ever been. Mentally, I'm the strongest I've ever been. But I haven't got a race to justify my progress. And so what I'm going to do through this sort of medium is vocalise my progress and document it, and document all my training to show you guys what it takes, hopefully, for me to get there. And I hope that you're going to jump along for the ride. And I'll finish with a quote. So I've got a book, it's called The Essential Sheehan. George Sheehan wrote it. He was a writer in America, and he was a runner as well. And the quote is, "Success means having the courage, the determination and the will to become the person you believe you were meant to be." And that's it, guys. Thank you for listening to Running Cooked, and I hope for the next few weeks you'll join me for the ride.